Hello and welcome to the Astro Garden, a place for astrologers to chat all things astro. I'm your host Janessa of By Jove Astrology. Thanks for tuning in. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Astro Garden. This is my second episode now that I'm going to be doing solo. There will be more interviews with other astrologers to come. I'm just trying to give myself space to share my ideas and connect hopefully with other people who might be having similar thoughts or feelings. And yeah, just kind of expanding what this project might be for me at the moment. So it's Wednesday, it's Mercury's Day, August 14th. It's kind of a crazy day astrologically. We've got the Mars-Jupiter conjunction happening as I speak. We've got the square perfecting from Saturn in Pisces. Mars-Jupiter happening in Gemini. We've got the moon getting close to that same degree as the Mars-Jupiter conjunction, but up in Sagittarius. And then we have Venus also in play in Virgo. So we've got this big, I think in modern astrology it's called a big grand cross, perfecting. For me, this is really angular. I'm a Pisces rising, and I have Saturn in Sagittarius at 17 degrees natally. So this is kind of a really interesting time. I'm getting like the Saturn square, which has been going on for a bit now, with Saturn going retrograde back over that degree. And then I've got the Mars-Jupiter happening in the 4th house. And Venus transiting my 7th house. So there's just like, it feels very dynamic. I'm knock on wood, hoping that it's not as eventful as it could be. Right now it feels like it feels very like stuff under the surface kind of bubbling, like obviously the themes of selfhood and with Saturn in the 1st, and like revisiting what I learned during my Saturn return, being like that first quarter transit happening. And yeah, like the 4th house stuff feels very literal. We hosted a giant birthday party over the weekend at our house, which was a ton of fun and a ton of work. And I think our whole family has just felt very tired since then. It's partly the party, partly like this time in the summer where we've had different schedules and different events happening. 3 out of the 5 weeknights this week we've got events going on, and that's kind of been the case for like the past month or 2 months, most of the summer, with like swimming lessons and parties and all really fun stuff. But like, we relied very much so on that schedule and that routine to kind of like take care of ourselves and make sure we're getting enough rest, especially like little kids, like our youngest for sure is crabby and tired at this point. He's about to turn 3. So yeah, he missed his naps both days this weekend, and we are feeling that. So yeah, it's not like, it doesn't feel like insurmountable things at the moment, but this is all kind of happening at the same time as like, trying to get more clarity on like my ambitions and my goals and like where I want to take this astrology business, and what that looks like for me part of that is this, right? Like, I think it's really helping me to verbalize my own thoughts. I hope it's not just landing as like, I don't know, oversharing or something with the internet. But it's helpful to me, and I hope it's helpful to others. But yeah, really trying to like hone in on what it is I want to do with this, and what does this career look like? Is it teaching? Is it writing? I think it feels like a multitude of things. There's not going to be just one of those things. But like, what role does astrology play in that? And, you know, I love the client work. That's not something that's going to go away anytime soon. So yeah, it's just kind of a lot going on under the surface. I haven't had a lot of time in my schedule with said activities to be doing much like in terms of events for astrology this summer, and in terms of readings. I do work full time, and I do, you know, have parenting responsibilities in the summer, especially, I mean, all year, but especially in the summer when my oldest daughter, who is not, you know, she's in elementary school, so she doesn't have school, and has like part-time care. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the upcoming fall. That being said, my schedule for September will be posted shortly, if not at the time of publishing this. I'm excited to open my books again. I've had very limited, very limited availability for this summer, and especially August. So I'm looking forward to this fresh start with Virgo season. And yeah, it's just like, in addition to like having more space to pursue those things, I love Virgo season. It kicks off like this 3 or 4 month stretch, this like last quarter of the year, that is just my favorite time of year. I'm partially biased because I'm a Libra sun, so it's like feels like it's kicking off like birthday season a little bit. But I also just love, you know, the sensual nature of fall. I love the colors. I love the temperature that it gets outside where I live in Minnesota. And like the way that the light is changing and that it's getting darker, and it just feels like there's something about it that is so just delicious to me. It's like dark and broody and dramatic, and like I just cannot get enough of it. Part of that, I think, is that I grew up until I was 11 or so. I grew up in South Florida, where we did not have seasons really. I mean, in the winter, what we would call the winter, you know, when it gets to like 70 degrees or something, we wouldn't swim in our swimming pool for like 2 or 3 months. But you know, anyone else, like when our cousins would visit from Minnesota, they thought we were crazy because it was definitely warmer than most lakes in Minnesota that they would swim in, you know, in the summer. So but growing up there, I always wanted those seasons. I like, you know, dreamed about playing in the snow and dreamed about like walking through a like fall scene on a trail with all the trees and leaves crunching under your feet and all of the different colors. So obviously now that I live in Minnesota, once we moved up here, that dream came true. And I just find that I appreciate it more and more every year as I get older. And learning astrology has only really added to that. I love the symbolism of Virgo and Libra and Scorpio and Sagittarius. Like, this stretch of signs is like, I know we're probably not supposed to have favorites. I love things about all the signs, but these are really like some of my most favorite and it's probably just because a lot of it feels like very familiar to me with the placements that I have. But yeah, I love the myth of Persephone and like how she goes to the underworld and marries Hades, but still has like this special deal that she's worked out to be able to go back to visit her mother. And just that she's kind of like this literally double-bodied figure that is both magical and mundane, and yeah, just like the tension again of like opposites, and being like this dark queen of the underworld, and like also like this very maybe like simple or like wholesome, goddess of the harvest. And yeah, being able to be both things, and obviously as immutable as per my last episode. I just love that. I love everything about it. Yeah, the fall is great. It's also like, before even knowing astrology, my husband and I picked September 24th as our wedding, to have our wedding. So that's our anniversary. I love the symbolism of that, like the very start of Libra season. I knew I always wanted to get married in the fall. And now it just makes so much more sense to me knowing what I know. So that's something to look forward to. We have like it's my birthday, my husband's birthday is in November. It's just like a lot of celebrations, and it feels like very appropriate with the harvest and, the equinox, and it's like this dark time of year, but like filled with like all of these little pockets of sparkly light and like warmth and glowy light. So yeah, I think I'm chewing on this imagery. I've been talking about the time, like when the summer solstice happens at the beginning of Cancer season. I've been talking about this half of the year that we're in now as being very lunar. The sun has reached its peak at the solstice, which means that sure, it's super strong still. There's more daylight than there is nighttime at this moment until we get to that equinox. But it also means that the light is like lessening, and the moon is becoming like this luminary of sect for this half of the year. So I'm playing with like a lot of these ideas around that, and yeah, just feeling very lunar and feeling into that, and trying to wrap my head around how I want to share that. As I'm like literally thinking this through with you listening. I do really want to offer something about the moon. I'm not sure what it's going to look like yet. Whether it's more basic and like introductory, or if we want to go deeper. So yeah, just know that that's coming. I hope if that's like an exciting idea to you, I'd love to hear that. Yeah, there's something about this like lunar night goddess that really like wants to come out of me, and I'm trying to find the right way to, or like a way. There's no working on losing some of this moral language, but I'm trying to find the way that that's going to express itself. And yeah, looking ahead at the transits coming up, it's kind of crazy. So it's crazy right now. I'd say this is some of the gnarliest astrology of the year. We've got like the next big thing coming up is going to be the eclipses, and also Pluto dipping its toes back into Capricorn. So, and you know, there's all kinds of Mars stuff happening towards the end of the year too. but yeah, eclipses, they happen every year, twice a year. It's very cheesy, I think, a lot, or like, you know, I can eye roll a little bit at sometimes about how they're spoken about, and like by the woo or spiritual community that I am a part of. But I also like totally buy into a lot of it because I mean, that's really, the eclipses are what got me into astrology. I was experiencing the 3rd and the 9th house eclipses in Taurus and Scorpio. And I have a lot of placements in my Scorpio house. So I think there was a lot of activation happening all around my chart. But yeah, that really is like, I'm a believer after seeing firsthand like how quickly that change came and how intensely. It was like, faded, very faded, and also just like very intense in that I could not get enough of astrology. I still feel like this to some degree, but like this initial year or two was like literally inhaling every bit of information I could find. You know, I went from like being unsure about it. It was something I liked, but you know, wasn't sure how much I was really gonna buy into it, to like hearing Richard Tarnas speak about all of the data he's compiled and analyzed and like that really was like a switch for me. I think within a month I had booked my first reading, and then before that reading even happened, I was trying to hold off until I had the reading to like see if I really was all in. But I couldn't wait any longer. Like before that reading even happened, I signed up for the first year of Nightlight Astrology and was like well on my way to more formally studying, even though I had been kind of like reading everything I could up until that point. All of this in like a 6-month time frame. So yeah, it happened really fast and really intensely. And now I'm kind of like integrating a lot of what I've learned and trying to put it into action. But all of that to say, the eclipses can be like, I know it's cliche, but they really can be like this portal to like a new way of being. Obviously it all depends on your chart, like anything. Every delineation is very nuanced, so take it with a grain of salt, take it in the context of your birth chart. But eclipses really do like propel us forward, whether that's a good thing, whether it's a more difficult thing, you know, that is to be seen. But yeah, I know there's a lot of I don't know where I stand on it, but I know there's a lot of debate on whether you should work with eclipses. I don't know that I was knowingly doing that when I had my huge astrology breakthrough, but towards the end of it, it did kind of feel like there was this collaboration happening. So yeah, something to think about. And they're going to be happening in Aries and Libra But we do get our first eclipse that's happening on the Pisces Virgo axis too. So this is kind of going to be a start to a new story that's unfolding in those houses in your chart. So definitely something to just like make note of any themes coming up. We can always look back at the last time we had these eclipses. I don't have the dates in front of me right now, but maybe I'll do more of an in-depth episode on that in the future. And yeah, astrology is great for looking back to look forward. And then there's always this element, right, of like it's not always an exact repeat. Astrology doesn't repeat, it rhymes. So I don't know who said that, but it's something that a lot of astrologers have shared. But we can see like the themes, and we can see where there is some repetition, but it's also an entirely new thing every time. So we have to stay open to the possibility of what is going to come that we haven't seen before, while also looking for like overlap. And usually it's not the same events, it's like echoes of past events where we can pick up on like similar themes or what's at the core of the past events. So yeah, excited and interested to see how that unfolds for all of us. And then we have the Pluto back into Capricorn, which is the last time it will be here in Capricorn for all of our lifetimes. So for me personally, Pluto in Capricorn is happening in my 11th house. It started back in 2008. And during that time, I was actually studying abroad and living in Germany. And I can totally see how that start of that transit coincided with like big shifts in my friend groups and like groups in general. Obviously, I moved abroad, so it's very literal of like I'm no longer near friend groups that I had before. I'm around new friend groups. And then, I mean, that's just one example. This is like how many year, 15-year transit. But that was very much like a very quick and tangible change. And it has evolved, throughout those 15 years as I've aged. But I think, at large, or like looking collectively, we can see how much has changed since then. I think it's pretty obvious to anyone in the US that 2008 timing was like a huge recession. It was also when Obama got elected. And yeah, I'm not a mundane astrologer by any means, but I do find it interesting the rise of capitalism during this time period, and how, I think Capricorn gets a bad rap, and I don't like when I see it always tied to like being greedy or stuff about money and ambition and like, these like really negative connotations. I also see how one could deduce that in this particular case with just exponential growth economically for only the rich people, essentially. So So yeah, I think it's interesting. I think a lot of us can feel this, right? With like the shift kind of coming to an end. Right now, Pluto is still in Aquarius, and we're getting a taste of it. We've been getting a taste of it since March of 2023, with some retrogrades in there. But I hesitate to assign Pluto in Aquarius to any individual candidate, because I think they're all tied to what is the word I'm looking for? Oligarchy, or the rich winning. um, so, but I think it's hard to know. It's like the ending of an era on one hand, and it's also, as a fixed sign, I always talk about the fixed signs carrying out what the cardinal signs have started. So we've had Pluto and Capricorn starting a new era, and then we have Aquarius kind of carrying out that mission that was started in Capricorn. So it will be interesting to see what happens between now and 2040, and how it unfolds. I feel like a lot of energy is going towards the people and the more awareness. I mean, I'm biased. My algorithm is biased on all internet sources of communication. But at least amongst people that I know, it does feel like a shift in energy toward, at least at a minimum, awareness of the situation, and things being brought to light about our government, about America, about society, if we're using that word. Things being brought to light, and questions about their sustainability, and where do we go from here. So on that note, I feel myself kind of coming to the end of what I wanted to say today. I do really hope you'll check out my website and my offerings there. I have a variety of readings, ranging from regular natal chart readings, one-on-one, to looking at the year ahead in combination with that, a couple different combinations. I have some shorter, more affordable options as well. If there's like a specific question or placement in your chart you want to jump into, I offer a 30-minute reading for that. I do offer now a Saturn return reading, which is kind of something I'm doing for research. It's, I'm at that first quarter from my Saturn return, and it's bringing up a lot of thoughts and a lot of what I learned during that time, and a lot of reflection about it. So I'm very interested in hearing about other people's Saturn returns, and if they've already gone through one, we can talk about it and think about, what that is looking like for you now. What were the takeaways? If it's unclear to you, I can help talk through that with you. And also for anyone like approaching their Saturn return or in it right now, who maybe you just want a sounding board, is looking for a little direction, or it's mostly yourself in a reading, right? Like, you have the answers, but I find talking to someone else about it really can help give you some perspective and just some new ideas maybe about how that's going for you. So I strongly encourage you to reach out if that's something you're interested in. Like I said, my availability will be up for September shortly, if not already. And if you don't see an appointment time that works for you, just reach out to me. I do have a lot of flexibility. So reach out and we can find a time that does work for both of us. And then I have some asynchronous offerings. I have a goddess reading, which is kind of the first iteration of this like dark, moody time of year that I want to dive into. It focuses on the third house and then the two goddesses in the birth chart, the moon and Venus, and kind of how all of those things are in play with each other. In ancient astrology, in the Hellenistic astrology, the third house was called the house of the goddess. And there's a ton of meanings to the third house. There's like I think I mentioned this in the last episode, like there's very tangible things like siblings, your daily ritual, your commute, your local environment, your community. But then there's like this really mystical side to it that I am very curious about and wanting to really dig into more. So that's an offering I have for a pre-recorded reading that is not face-to-face. And then I have a pretty cool offering for the year ahead, but getting that pre-recorded for you in 4 different chunks. So instead of sitting down and recording like an hour and a half or an hour long spiel about your whole year ahead, I break it down into quarters, depending on when you order, starting when you order the reading, and send it to you at those quarters so that you can have it when it's most appropriate. So in time for you to look ahead at the next 3 months. And that just makes it a little bit easier, I think, to digest, and is like a great way to kind of like carry it with you throughout the year versus just like a one-time recording. I think energetically we're closer to when these things are happening, and they might be tinges of like truth that's coming through more clearly when we're a little bit closer to it, being able to feel into the energy a little bit more. So if that's something you're interested in, check it all out at my website, byjoveastrology.com. And yeah, let me know how this gnarly astro weather is going for you. I hope we're all keeping our cool. I hope we all listened to Chani when she said to take it easy this week. And yeah, sending you all kinds of love and peace during this crazy time. For more information about my work, you can find me at byjoveastro on Instagram, at byjoveastrology on Twitter, and the best place to find me of all is at my website, byjoveastrology.com.